wishes to address the City Council, our board, about Agenda 15-23, 17-23, and she has concerns or opposes the agenda item. Written comments, folders, record received in the mail, which is what you're talking about, I'm sure.
Correct.
Thank you. Do we have any others?
Lucille Pendleton?
Yeah. Hi, my name is Cecile Pendleton.
Did you join us?
You have to come up to the microphone and then you have to raise your right hand and swear who you are.
If you please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
And please state your name and address for the record.
Lucille Pendleton. I recently sold my house in Jacksonville Beach and moved across the ditch. I live at 1700 San Pablo Road, south now, in Jacksonville. I'm a member of the Sierra Club, and we have been following this development for ever since we heard about it. So we were at the previous meetings. As far as the comprehensive plan is concerned, I'm wondering if you're developing a whole new land use category, whether you are including elements that are currently in the comprehensive plan, such as LU 1.4.11, which has to do with conservation protected areas, and LU 1.4.12, which has to do with conservation restricted lands. I know Heather said that you were considering the habitat, but I would like to have information that is a little more specific than that. Also, you mentioned that the developer delivered an updated site plan, especially regarding the northwest part of the property, and that's particularly part of the property that we're worried about, that the conservation land that's on the north side of the current parking lot we consider to be extremely vulnerable, and we would be very concerned about any building going on there.
Thank you, ma'am.
Candace Root?
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes,
And please state your name and address for the record.
Candace Rue, 1244 18th Street North, Jacksonville Beach, Florida. Okay. I also have the same concerns as Lucille. I've also attended the meetings and been following this issue. My concern is where the actual building of residential area and the retail will be on this property, and if it will affect the conservation land of the marsh. I have another concern too. I recently attended, we both did the ADAPT meeting that was downtown last week with Mayor Deegan and the resiliency officer. And my concern is if you're going to be using or utilizing any of the changing of the use of the conservation land, how that will affect any resiliency areas around Jacksonville Beach and affect flooding in the area, and plus what damage the building could be doing to the marsh in particular. So we're here to find out actually what the information is and where the actual building would be being done, and what how much conservation land will be affected. Thank you.
That's it. No more cards.
Is there anyone else that wishes to address us on this item? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing on this item. And we can...
Through the chair, just kind of outline process as far as sort of our normal practice versus the kind of standard for state public hearings for these kind of things. It is the typical required practice that you have a motion on the table before you have any discussion. So before you really get into the nuts and bolts of talking about it, you really should make a motion for or against for the sake of discussion before you have any meaningful discussion on the topic. Just to address the one concern about the comp plan policy, this element, or this new land use will still require compliance with all the other elements of the comp plan. And actually, in the proposed four policies, 1.5.17 specifically states that it has to be in compliance with 1.411, which is the one they're referring to for conservation. But again, all elements of the comp plan still have to apply to this new land use category.
So do we have any other general discussion before we talk specifically, in which case we probably want to talk under motion? Does anyone have a motion?
Motion to approve for purpose of discussion.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. What questions do you have? What discussions do you have?
Madam Chair, if I could answer some of the questions from the young ladies by me.
Certainly.
I'm going to just fast forward a little bit, just kind of for the sake of the full discussion so everybody kind of understands all the pieces of this puzzle. The new alignment of Second Avenue North it has to move to the north to essentially provide the turn here and all of the things, that the width, the right-of-way, provide enough room for all the utilities to run down it. A multi-use path as well, I believe, is planned. I don't have the details on this particular roadway, but one of the provisions in the development agreement is that, just a couple things, this property here is now currently land use of low-density residential. The applicant is proposing to change it to conservation, so we have an increase of over 10 acres in conservation. All of this will remain in conservation, and as part of the development agreement, will be deeded over to the city of Jacksonville to preserve as a passive park. So their parks department at some point will be taking over this property that is being donated to them, essentially from the applicant. This area here at the terminus of Second Avenue North, where the applicant wants to do a commercial building with some associated parking and overflow boat trailer parking. I'll go back to the aerial. Oh, it's not on there, I apologize. Is essentially the spoil island from the dredging from the marina. So the infill of wetlands that will take place for this project will be pretty limited to what they need to build a new roadway. And again, I know the applicant will cover that in more detail, to just kind of answer the questions that came up now. And they will be required to do wetland mitigation for that. But all of this property in the light blue, and then this over here in the kind of hashed darker blue will be either remain in conservation or turned over to conservation. So hopefully that answers that particular question, and I'm happy to entertain questions from the commission.
So just for clarity, what I'm looking at is planned unit development parcel D, which we're talking about at the terminus of Second. What is actually there right now? Is it, because from the aerial, you said it was what?
It's the spoil from the dredging, so it's not wetlands, it's all uplands. You can kind of see it right here. This is all uplands, and as part of anything they build, they're going to be required to do stormwater drainage to be filtered. So they'll have a stormwater pond in these locations here as part of the overall project. So, but just to get back to just those questions of land conservation, the marina mixed-use category as it's being presented will be this area that's shown in red. So that's all part of the marina property currently, which is zoned PUD currently, with the addition of this piece here, which includes the city's restaurant and their new commercial building. Everything else will be recreation open space because it'll be boat trailer parking. So we tied it back to the boat ramp and it can be recreation open space per the comp plan.
I have a question. Is it commonplace to put a whole new zoning plan for one development?
Yes, in fact, when we were doing research for this, I found several cities that have a land use of some type of marina land use, marina mixed use or something similar to that. So it is common to kind of concentrate something like this into one land use. As far as the rezoning application, yes, it is common. This is a unique property. It's got a deep water basin in the middle of it with a bunch of boat slips. It's the only place out here on the island that we have that. So in terms of trying to match that uniqueness of the property, PUD zoning allows them the flexibility to kind of work under the constraints of the property that they have. So it is, you know, a good fit for this type of project to rezone to PUD. Hopefully that answers your question a little bit.
Can you tell me what the current entitlements are for the zoning that they currently have?
Sure, I think we have a slide for that. There it is. I'm gonna let Christian talk to this one since he put this slide together.
Can I think it would probably be preferable to get through the land use and category.
Yeah,
before we get into
I
the-
would.
The other thing I would say is that the land use itself has a change in density and a relocation of some of the existing uses that are entitled under the commercial land use. So the maximum density is being reduced from an overall 20 units an acre, 40 adjacent to Beach Boulevard, down to 15 for the entirety of the marina mixed-use land use category. So that's a substantial change. And then, as Heather pointed out, the marina mixed use will encompass all of the entitlements associated with the land uses that have to do with marina, and then those will come out of the commercial categories of land use that are in the comp plan currently. The question of individual uses entitled to the PUD, I think we should save until we get to the PUD.
And if you look at the proposed, the kind of one-pager proposed policies, you'll see in the first proposed policy 1515, what we're proposing will be the allowable land uses in this project, which are ones either already there or ones proposed to be there per the kind of master plan of the marina, if you will.
Do we have any other questions? Okay, so remember, we're acting on the creation of a new land use category, our recommendation on the creation of a new land use category called marina mixed use. Do we need to amend the motion because it was a motion for discussion?
No, I mean, technically you have a motion on the floor for approval, and just kind of a proceed, I'm sorry? It's a motion that's on the floor for approval. Yeah, it can be amended, but it is currently an active motion. Procedurally, the city is proposing the land use category, so if you have conditions or comments that you want to propose to city council to consider, you can do that at this time. Specific to the land use category. When we get to the amendment of the land use category by the applicant, the request to change the land use, that isn't something that you can condition. You can either recommend approval or recommend denial, but you can't put conditions on the change of category. So if you have something that you're curious or want to comment on related to the category, do that now. And then when it comes to moving them into that category, that'll be basically just an up-down vote.
And again, it's just a recommendation, so we're not the final decision.
Correct. But again, I think, this is an opportunity to have some, say, insight into the council's process. And if you do recommend a condition, it's important to enumerate why and where that is coming from and what the intent is of the condition.
Thank you, Mr. Buckley. Do we feel ready for the roll call?
I have a question. So we're going from commercial to marina mixed use, and there's currently businesses, I'm assuming, that are already there and stuff in that property.
Correct.
So is anything being pulled out of the commercial mixed use and putting in the marina mixed use that would affect the current tenant?
No, nothing that's being proposed would affect the current use of the property or the existing businesses that are there.
What about looking ahead and long term? Are we taking away the ability to do something there versus what's already there?
As far as this in the land use category, I don't know that we're removing anything as an entitlement that would create some potential issues. And when it comes to the PUD, there are some changes, but as far as the entitlements in the marina mixed use, no, we're not removing anything that would be an entitlement now.
Any further discussion?
Just out of curiosity, when this gets When this gets sent to the state, what do they check for?
So what the state will be looking for is if our proposed new land use category is consistent with the rest of the comprehensive plan. And that'll be the primary focus of their review.
Just to expand on that, they do look at things such as, there are standard ratios for commercial to residential to industrial and things like that, to make sure that our comp plan is balanced appropriately. I think in this case, because we're not really changing the nature of the property from a mixed use that C2 allows residential and commercial to a different mixed use category, we're gonna get a lot of pushback. But there are a lot of things that they look at, but predominantly our comp plan and making sure we're not doing anything that's egregious or inconsistent with that.
So last question, it says that the allowable uses is ancillary marina uses. I don't really know what that is. Do we have any, can I have an example if you have one?
Wasn't there one in there? Wasn't there one in there that had a list of all the ancillary uses?
So in the PUD, there's a list of accessory uses, and those would kind of be along the same things. If you allow boat painting, the assumption would be you would allow boat storage as well. Or if you allow, boat refilling, we might allow commercials and, bait shop, those types of things. But I mean, they're intended to be minor uses that are accessory to primary uses.
So basically, this is in the PUD. Is limited starting point for that?
Right, exactly.
And then the last thing, I just want to be clear, this is just approving or recommending the approval of a creation of a new category to the council, correct? Yes, that's correct.
So with those clarifications, do we feel ready to do a roll call on the motion at hand? Do you see any concerns? Okay, may we have a roll call, please?
Nicholas Andrew,
Yes.
Colleen White,
Yes.
Justin Lehrman,
Yes.
Justin Henderson,
Yes.
Margot Moran.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. Okay, let's move on to PC 15-23.
Okay, so now we'll kind of get down into the nuts and bolts of what the applicant is proposing here. So I'm going to cover it briefly, and then I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Hainline to go over. He has a presentation as well, so Madam Clerk, if it's okay, I'll let you know when to switch. They both should be pulled up. So this is considered a small-scale land use amendment, again, pending the approval by the state of our new land use category. This is less than 50 acres, around 33. So what they're asking for, there's several things involved in this. We're changing some property from low-density residential to conservation, as I mentioned, just over 10 acres. Some property from conservation to right-of-way, because the roadway alignment is moving, so there'll be a new right-of-way alignment. The property going from conservation to marina mixed use would be just under 3 acres. Rec open space to mixed use, just under 1 acre. Conservation to rec open space, which is this green area here, about 2.5 acres, and the bulk of the property commercial to marina mixed use, so around 15 acres. Overall, there's a gain of over 10 acres, again, at conservation. We're getting rid of they would be getting rid of this low density residential, and an increase of 1.5 acres approximately to the rec open space category. This is kind of a quick summary of all of that. These are the standards that shall be considered for a comprehensive plan amendment. So in your staff report, you'll see our analysis of these. And some of them, again, just don't apply. But we've covered a summary in the staff report of these. I'm not going to go through every single one with y'all. But if you have questions about them, we can kind of cover it during the discussion. Staff has found that it is consistent with the following policies in the comprehensive plan. Some are land use, some are transportation, conservation management, and then recreation open space. And again, we do find that it is consistent with both the existing comprehensive plan policies that we've identified, and it does not conflict with any of our standards in the land development code. And with that, I'm going to let the applicant, Madam Clerk, if you can switch over to the PowerPoint, and they've got a presentation for you guys as well.
Thank you.
Good evening, board members. Good evening, board members, and thank you for your time, and thank you very much, Ms. Ireland, for giving some very much needed detail to kind of a complex issue that we have here. My name is Carl Masters. I'm the Senior Project Manager with Windward Marina Group. We are a small, family-oriented marina owner and operator located primarily here in Northeast Florida. We have the Comanche Cove and the shipyards down in St. Augustine, where I was born and raised and currently live, as well as Beach Marine, the reason that we're here today. When we purchased Beach Marine around 5 years ago, the very first thing we did was reach out to City of Jacksonville staff and ask them what they felt a successful operated marina would look like in the City of Jacksonville Beach. And in those discussions, the very first thing that came up was the condition and issues associated with 2nd Avenue being located directly north of the marina. Heather touched on some of those things. We also have some slides that we can give you guys a little bit more information on, but really at base, it's public safety, public access, sustainability, and resiliency are the 4 major components that are causing issues with that roadway today. Once we kind of had further discussions with the City of Jacksonville Beach, we learned that the issue at hand was a little bit more involved than we originally realized. 2nd Avenue and the boat ramp itself is actually owned, operated, and maintained by the City of Jacksonville, but resides within the City of Jacksonville Beach municipal area. So in learning that, we reached out again to City of Jacksonville and back out to City of Jacksonville Beach and began working on a draft developmental agreement, which really is kind of the roadmap that kind of sets forth the wheels of motion and what needs to be done, the order that they need to be done, and how they need to be done. So approximately, I believe, 2.5 years ago, we went in front of both City of Jacksonville and City of Jacksonville Beach commissions and pleaded our case on what is much needed public improvements to this, which benefits both the public of City of Jacksonville Beach being the only boat ramp located within the municipality, and then Windward Marina is really the only neighbor associated with 2nd Avenue. Going to the hearings, I believe we were unanimously approved at both City of Jacksonville and City of Jacksonville Beach councils for the developmental agreement. And then we were kind of peeling back the onion a little bit more and getting in terms of design and other aspects of the project that really would make it a success. And with that being said, I'll turn it over to Mr. T.R. Hanline, and he's got a little slideshow that kind of goes into some more information.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening. I'm T.R. Hanline, and I represent Windward. We've been working on this for more than 2 years, so we're excited to be here and excited to be presenting you with some information. And I'm going to try and be brief, but as has already been made probably pretty plain, this is a fairly layered issue with some public improvements to it. And some other things going on. So I'm going to give you some background. I then will speak to the comprehensive plan amendment. At that point, I can stop before I go on to the PUD, if that's what everybody feels like, or I can continue through the PUD. But I'll just let you know when I get to that point. So here is an aerial which shows the site, and you already saw that. Obviously, this is 20th coming up here. This is 2nd Avenue North that comes down this way. Obviously, the Beach Marine main campus is, I used to call it campus, but the marina is down here, the marina basin here. I do want to point out that use that's right there, and I'm going to show you a picture of that curve in a second, that use is actually not Windward owned. That's owned by another business. Some of the uses along 20th are owned by other businesses, and that's one of them. So 2nd Avenue comes down, 2nd Avenue North comes down to here, and it stops at this little park, which is a very nice City of Jacksonville Beach small park. It goes over a bridge here of sorts, and then here is the City of Jacksonville boat ramp. that is owned and operated by City of Jacksonville. North of all of 2nd Avenue North, north is owned by Windward. Let me name a couple of exceptions to that. So there's a small strip here that is owned by City of Jacksonville Beach, on which there is currently some parking. And then the Windward ownership extends up to here and up in here and comes down and very roughly goes over along 19th over here. So it's important to point out that this is owned by Windward. We're going to talk about that in a second. This upland, which is an upland piece that goes out into the marsh. This upland piece is owned by Windward, as are other small areas here. This is a spoil area, which is not only owned by Windward, but is used for spoil from the Marina Basin. But it is uplands, at least it's carved out of uplands there, uplands surrounded, and this is some uplands that are north of the boat ramp and located to the west of the spoil area. With that, that's sort of the lay of the land. Let me go forward. So current conditions, some of this has already been spoken about, so I'll be quick about this. Windward purchased the marina several years ago. Windward does own the 100 acres of wetlands and uplands north of 2nd Avenue North. 2nd Avenue North, we're going to see some pictures of this, is very frequently flooded and has that 90-degree turn, which would be bad enough for normal cars, but imagine cars with boat trailers onto them. It's pretty outrageous. The boat ramp, if you go down there on a busy day, it's a cluster situation down there. The boat ramp doesn't have enough parking. It's poorly configured. Even the City of Jacksonville acknowledges that. And that results in safety issues and vehicles and trailers that are all trying to find parking, and you'll see what some of that results in. On the City of Jacksonville property, I'm sorry, I should have pointed this out. So the City of Jacksonville Beach owns this property there, which of course is where there's an existing restaurant, very nice restaurant. And my last bullet point on this is that the City of Jacksonville Beach Park, the existing restaurant, and the boat ramp, all of those, two of which are owned by City of Jacksonville Beach, rely on 2nd Avenue North for access, for safe access. So here we're going to get some pictures. This is the 90-degree turn at 2nd Avenue North and 20th Street North. Again, this building is not a Windward building, it's another user there, but it is right there. And so when people come up 20th and they have to turn here with their boat trailers, it's a 90-degree turn. It's not desirable from anyone's perspective. This is going west on 2nd Avenue North, and you'll see all along the road, people are parking their empty trailers and their cars wherever they can. This is now 2nd Avenue North looking east from the boat ramp. This is one of the parking areas, the northerly-most parking area at the boat ramp. And this is part of which is actually owned by City of Jacksonville Beach. But this is a parking aisle. We're looking east here. But if you are looking west, you'll see there's no turnaround at the end of that parking aisle. You just get your car there, and then nothing to turn around. You have to do like a 20-point turn to get out of there and back headed out to the east. So its configuration is poor. So we wanted to have some pictures of the flooding situations, which really are high tides. This isn't like a storm surge or anything. This is what that road is like. So we got a couple of pictures here, and then we're going to get to this one, and I don't know who has the laptop, if anyone does, but this is a video, and unless I can get to a laptop or yeah, that's it. Okay, here's the video. Thank you very much, Christian. Here's the video. One thing you'll notice is that the water gets so deep that on the right it's obscured, and on the right is a ditch. So if somebody's just driving along and they don't really know that to the right there is a ditch, they'll drive right into the ditch. You'll also see up here, a little further, almost underwater, is an electric transformer, which obviously is not desirable. This is it on that high tide. It's a pretty crazy situation. I'm waiting to get to the transformer. There it is, right on the right there. This is heading east, obviously, towards 20th Street and the curve. I think it ends any second here. But you can see that this road is in desperate need to be fixed. And again, it's not only used by the boat ramp, but it's used by the City of Jacksonville Beach Park and the restaurant that is there. They all rely on this. Thanks, Christian, for tapping that. So let me just, overall, the components of the project, the main components of the project, realignment and reconstruction of 2nd Avenue North and its intersection with 20th Street. It does include a multi-use path. It's a wide sidewalk and bicycle path for people all the way from 20th Street out to the boat ramp. This project also involves the conveyance of the 100 acres of undeveloped wetlands and uplands from Windward to the City of Jacksonville for use as a public preservation park. You know that the City of Jacksonville has opened and dedicated several preservation parks around town, all part of the effort now almost 20 years ago for preservation parks. That's what this one would be, like Dutton Island and some of the others. It would not be an active park or a soccer park or anything like that. It'd be a preservation park. And we'll get to exactly what that covers. Components of the process. A couple of things that I want to just touch on. I want to make sure that I'm covering them. So hold on a second. What I wanted to say about process is that, yes, there were prior workshops held. I think Heather showed you all of that. And there was a development agreement that served as a roadmap for all of these processes. But I want to make one thing clear about the development agreement. The development agreement does not decide the comp plan amendment here or the rezoning. All it says is City of Jacksonville Beach will consider the comp plan amendment and rezoning. So the development agreement hasn't made this decision, doesn't say it has to be this or that. It leaves that to City of Jacksonville Beach, to this board and to the city council. If you wish to deny it, that is certainly, absolutely, positively within your power. If you wish to add conditions, whatever. I just wanted you to know that nothing's been preempted as it relates to City of Jacksonville Beach decision powers. And that's the development agreement. It's a roadmap that spells out how everything and the sequence of all of these steps would be done. Comprehensive plan amendments and the rezoning are what we're here on tonight. Just a word about the roadway and some of the things at the end of the road. Again, the realignment and the reconstruction of 2nd Avenue North is for safer vehicular access to all the uses at the end. The City of Jacksonville will fund these improvements. It's in its CIP currently at $11 million. Windward will fund the design and permitting of the improvements and is doing that right now. That's an estimated of about $1 million. Obviously, it involves not only the design, and we've already done 60% plans for the road and what happens at the end. And we've been working very diligently with City of Jacksonville and City of Jacksonville Beach, Public Works, and other agencies on the design of the road, etc. And permitting, which is obviously not only by the two cities, but also by the St. Johns River Water Management District and U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. So Windward is doing all that on its nickel at a cost of about $1 million. Windward will donate the right-of-way to the city of Jacksonville for 2nd Avenue North. Remember what Heather said, 2nd Avenue North is a city of Jacksonville road, although it's in Jacksonville Beach jurisdiction. So Windward will donate the right-of-way. There's some very small pieces that are needed from both City of Jacksonville and City of Jacksonville Beach. But also, Windward will donate the land for the stormwater ponds and that safe turn at 20th Street North. Windward will construct additional parking for the boat ramp and existing restaurant, and we'll get to that and see details of that. And new parking for the proposed reservation park and the new marine support uses at the end of 2nd Avenue North. You'll see those in the PUD plans in detail. And then, of course, as we've said, Windward will donate 100 acres plus of the uplands and wetlands for use as the preservation park. Just to outline again where some of this stuff is. So this is what would be new 2nd Avenue North. These are proposed stormwater ponds on upland fingers right there. Those can go in any comp plan category, so there's no amendment needed for those. But I want to point out that there are 3 stormwater ponds proposed and will be designed for this improvement. There was a question earlier about danger of flooding or danger of risks posed. Stormwater has been factored into the design. You can bet on that. We have to show the agencies about all of that. So those are the stormwater ponds. The additional parking for the boat ramp is all going to be done here. You'll see the plan in a second when you look at the PUD. This is going to be, is proposed by Windward as some new marine support uses, such as a restaurant, maybe a bait shop, maybe a little place people can get their sodas and sandwiches before they head out onto the water there at the boat ramp. That's that use. Again, parking for the boat ramp is going to be redone. One commitment that we made, you'll see it in the PUD, is for the existing restaurant. There's a certain amount of parking that is there for that existing restaurant. We've told them from the beginning that the parking that will be provided in this area will include at least the amount of parking that they have currently. And what you'll see is that we're providing them more parking than they have currently at that existing restaurant there. So that's kind of an overview. Let's go quickly to the comp plan land use amendments, which is the next thing you'll be voting on before the PUD, as I understand it. We pointed out that Windward property west of 19th Street, which is a little over 10 acres, will be amended from low-density residential, so they can put homes there under the entitlements today, to conservation estuarine. And let me show you where that land is specifically. That's this land here. That's an upland finger that goes out and could be developed for single-family homes, honestly. 19th Street is right here. So I, at least in the context of the development agreement, spoke to several owners of homes along in there. Once they understood that what's in their backyard, literally, is now zoned for low-density residential, but, I'm sorry, comp plan for low-density residential, and will be in conservation, will be put into conservation estuarine. They said, okay, I get it. So instead of having possibility of a single-family development in my backyard, I'm going to have conservation in a preservation park. Okay, that's okay by me. So at least the people I spoke to who live on 19th there had those questions. So that area all goes into conservation. There are two areas, these light blue areas. Those are the areas that will go from conservation, that's what they're in currently, to other land uses. This property here will, that little sliver of property there will go from conservation to marine mixed use. Out on the little island property there, this will go from conservation to the light green, which is recreation open space. That's basically all the parking that's going to be provided for the boat ramp. And that's appropriately put into preservation open space. And the red, which is the marine mixed use, new uses, like I said, the restaurant, the bait shop and stuff, that will be put into marine mixed use. So again, this from conservation to recreation open space and marine mixed use. This from conservation to marine mixed use. This from low density residential to conservation. So the point is, this at 10.18 acres exceeds these two by about 5 acres. So there will be a net gain in conservation estuarine land as a result of these comp plan amendments. That's the purpose of spelling this out so clearly. This change from low density residential to conservation estuarine results in a net gain of conservation for these plan amendments. And I think Heather already put this up, but this is kind of the sum and substance of everything and where it happens on the comp plan amendments. I'm gonna hold off getting into the PUD at this point. I think that's appropriate given where you all are. And I think I've made all the points that I would make for the comp plan amendment. And I look forward to getting into the details of the PUD with you as well. Oh, and happy to answer any questions we do have here. In addition to Carl, we have Ryan Carter, who is our environmental consultant, and we have Jennifer Glitch and Matt Boyer. They're also our civil engineers with GAI. So if you have questions about either the environmental stuff or the stormwater pond and the drainage and stuff, our other experts are here too. And Hayden Phillips works with me. So thank you. And I'll be ready to do the PUD if we move on to that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any parts specific to this and any member of the public wish to address the land use, the proposed land use change? I'm going to open the public hearing, and I'm going to close the public hearing. Okay, do we have questions? Any discussion?
I have a question, and this is open to anybody that wants to answer it. Why does Jacksonville have land in Jacksonville Beach, like on 2nd Avenue?
So I'll kind of answer that two-part. Way back in 1982, there was an interlocal agreement among Jacksonville and the beach communities. Part of that outlined what Jacksonville's responsibilities will be to support the beach community. So that included things like 2nd Avenue North, 20th Street, Penman Road, and probably some other ones I'm forgetting about. There's probably 50 interlocal agreements. If you go on the county's website, you can look at them all if you're bored and want to do some light reading. But in this particular case, I believe it goes back to the fact that Jacksonville just happened to own that property at the end of the road where there's parking and the marina. So I believe that that is why they took responsibility for 2nd Avenue North. Penman Road's kind of the same thing. It goes through 2 communities in the county. So this has been here for a long time. And then Jacksonville Beach owns the second boat ramp that's on the east side, adjacent to the existing restaurant that's also on city property. So hopefully that answers your question.
Why didn't we ever purchase it from them?
I don't have an answer for that.
Okay.
Not sure.
I have a question, 2nd Avenue North. So where 2nd Avenue North is getting rerouted, I guess, to the north there and around that 90-degree turn, has there been any look into where moving the road north and that turn where it floods, any looking into where it continues to flood onto 20th and then even back up onto 2nd Avenue North going toward the east? Because the flooding is not just up there, so in a lot of places, and does moving the road make the flooding worse in another area?
So there's really two types of flooding really at hand that I'm not exactly sure what the issue is. Kind of to the east of our property, I know generally you're either gonna have your stormwater or your rainwater, which,
Typically it's the same, it's stormwater.
It's
It's
handled with
high
your-
tide.
okay, so it's tidal. So you either have something from rainwater, which is conveyance systems, upgrading your conveyance systems, larger pipes move more water, or you either have something from a storm surge. So if you have something from a storm surge, like we've unfortunately frequently had here in Northeast Florida the last couple of years, if you have a storm surge that comes and hits elevation 8 per se, anything 8 or below is gonna flood regardless of what we do out here on the west. Now, what we are doing with our road is we are raising it up to get it out of some of those storm surge elevations so that emergency personnel and other people can still access the water in terms of tidal flooding. So does that adequately answer your question, or go ahead?
Our civil engineers here may be able to answer.
Yeah, I could,
Yeah, essentially does moving the road affect other areas, right? It's the exact same kind of flooding that Second Avenue gets.
Right, so, sorry, my name's Matt Collier with GAI Consultants. So right there at the curve, there's an existing open swale, an open ditch on the east side and along the north side of the road there. So when we do realign the road, there will be a section that's gonna be piped, and it'll outfall approximately where right there. So, yeah, it'll be outfall right to where the light blue and the darker blue hatch change, right at the division there. So essentially what's gonna happen right now, the existing ditch over in here drains all the way up over here and it outfalls approximately here. So it's a lot longer distance. So when the road gets realigned, that is going to outfall to right here. It'll be a shorter distance. So we are taking into account, to answer your question, the conveyance, because that ditch drains from all the way, over to the east here and up and around. So we are taking into account that existing conveyance swale as part of our project, because that'll need to get rerouted.
The only other thing I'd add is that I guess I'm gonna go back to the aerial maybe, or maybe this works. So this is an upland finger here. So between where the turn is and the homes on 19th is an upland area that's going to be put into conservation. It's going to be part of the preservation park. And then again, here are the stormwater ponds that are designed to, is that where your outfall is, Matt? Is that what you were just talking about, since you got a stormwater pond there?
From what used to be ditch, yes.
Yeah.
So there's going to be the overflow from that pond where you're just pointing will be outfalling to that area, but you're also going to have the conveyance swale coming from the east, which will essentially it's bypass flow separate from our project that'll outfall into that area as well. And I know the city of Jacksonville Beach is, they're studying the drainage in this area as well, further to the east, separate from this project.
But today there are no stormwater ponds there, right?
No, there are no stormwater ponds currently. It's currently untreated flow, and it's going straight out into the intercoastal.
I am the stormwater pond.
Okay.
There is the-
All right, so obviously what we're taking is an unimproved and unregulated system, and we're running the design through the agencies and creating an improved and regulated stormwater system for the road.
I just have a couple questions. Is Rotary Park impacted at all over there?
You need this?
No, well, yeah, thank you. So Rotary Park is right here. The only impact to Rotary Park will be a new entrance to it. It'll just be, there'll be a turn off here from the new roadway alignment. So, and just to be clear, I know it hasn't come up, but the existing roadway will remain open during the time that the new road is being constructed. So there won't be any impact to access while it's under construction. But yeah, Rotary Park will remain unchanged.
And then we said that there would be additional parking. How much additional, can you speak to that?
I'm happy to answer that, but I'm gonna be moving forward to the PUD for a
I
second.
can wait then. We can wait.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm happy to answer it if then or now, but then is fine.
I have a question about the road. How much wider will it be? And you're talking about raising it. Will you be dredging to, I don't know how that works, if you're gonna dredge it to raise it, or how are you gonna raise it, and how will that affect the environment there?
So how wide, I think is the first question.
So the typical section of the road will be 3 lanes, two travel lanes on either side are going to be 14 feet wide. Typically a travel lane is 12 feet, so a little bit wider to accommodate boats and trailered. And then the central, we call it a bi-directional left turn lane, the left turn lane is going to be 12 feet wide.
And how wide is the mixed use path?
The shared use path on the south side will be 12 feet wide. And you'll have it, the typical section is going to be curb and gutter, city standard curb and gutter with the 3 lanes, and then the shared use path on the south side.
I think she also asked how.
And the vertical increase will be approximately 8 feet, or 5 feet. So the average elevation of the current road is around 3 feet. The proposed elevation is going to be around 8 feet. So you're going to have a 5-foot vertical.
And what will you use to build that up?
It's going to be primarily off-site fill. It'll have to get hauled in from other areas. There may be some portions of the fill that could be used from other areas in the project, maybe a little bit of the excavated area from the ponds, but the majority of the project will be off-site fill.
Okay, so you'll have the 2 roadway, or 2 roads, and then a thing in the middle, and then sidewalks on the side?
No sidewalks on the side. The north side won't have a sidewalk. The south side will have a 12-foot wide shared use path, essentially for pedestrians and bicycle traffic.
So it's fairly common in developments like this, rather than running a narrow sidewalk on both sides, rather to put a full multi-use, because they're usually about 5 feet wide each, 4 or 5 feet wide each. Rather take one side and do a very wide, 12 feet here, multi-use path, so that bikes and people with strollers and everything can get down easily.
Question for the city. Can you provide an answer or rebuttal to Rick Valerie's email just about the small scale amendment? And speak to that a little bit.
Is there a specific portion of her email that you want us to address?
I guess.
It's 35 pages.
Oh my goodness. I don't think I've read all 35 pages. Maybe you could just provide a high-level overview of what their issue is, and
I'll be honest, I'm not entirely sure. I did skim this. We received this. Yeah, we received this morning. I think one of her concerns was that we were going to move their applications ahead of the state giving us the blessing on the marina mixed-use land use category. We can't do that. Everything will go to council with the planning commission's recommendation as basically one package, 3 separate applications, but the ordinances for the applicant's land use and zoning changes will basically be put on hold until we hear from the state, and then everything will go back again at once. So we can't approve a land use change to a land use that doesn't exist yet. I think that was one of her concerns, if I read it correctly, but it's not an issue.
One general question concerning the spoil pit. So it looks like part of that is being overtaken by parking in this proposal. If we approve the rezoning, is there still enough, it said to remain on the previous slide, so is there anticipated that that's going to be enough for future use? If you go back one more.
This one right here?
No, previous. That one.
Okay.
It says, Yeah, spoil pit, two remain, but part of it's overtaken by, the new, zoning.
Right, I'll let the applicant address that.
Yes, that is correct. We will be downsizing the size of the spoil pond to allow for some of this boat parking, trailer parking to happen at this site. Ultimately, it's really a function of frequency of dredging operations. Over time, we have siltation that develops in the marina. It'll probably require us to have a little bit more frequent dredging here. But really with our last dredging operation that we had, it's held up really well. We've done some depth findings, and it seems like the ebb and flow with the most recent dredging is really helping the basin kind of maintain its operating point now.
So we don't have any kind of a projection as to, how long that's gonna last us? Because I'm assuming this is where you put the dredging, whatever you dredge up. Is there some sort of projection for how, before that's, I guess, filled? I'm not familiar with how this is done, so I'm trying
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of it's not an exact science, but what we do have the ability to do with some of that area is if we do fill this pond with dredging, you let it sit for a little while, it dries out, maybe mix it with some sand, and then you just excavate it out of the pit itself, you haul it off, and then you basically repeat the process, similarly like how we operate it today.
All right, thank you.
Do we have any other questions? Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and this would be for recommendation on this item. Any further discussion? May we have a roll call, please?
Nicholas Andrew,
Yes.
Colleen White,
Yes.
Justin Learman,
Yes.
Justin Henderson,
Yes.
Margot Mori.
Yes. Our recommendation is approval. May we go on to PC 1623.
Madam Clerk, if you could switch over to the other PowerPoint, thank you so much. And we'll go back to this one. I probably should have given you a heads up, we were gonna make you push a whole bunch of buttons. Thank you. Okay, I'll drive, thank you. Okay, so we're moving on to PC 16-23, which is the rezoning application. So just a little history on the property for those who maybe weren't here in 2016. The marina was zoned commercial general C2 prior to 2016, where the previous owner submitted and was approved for a rezoning to PUD. Most of what they had proposed was not developed, and as we've already stated, it was sold in 2020 to the current owners. The uses permitted in the current PUD are those listed on the slide, really similar to what would be allowed in C2 currently, with a few exceptions, but multifamily, offices, restaurants, all the marina-related uses such as water transportation, short and long-term boat housing, and restaurants and bars which are existing on the property. Their current request for a PUD, so we're not really amending the existing PUD as you've seen in some other instances. This is really new because it's added property and really kind of honing in on the uses that they do want to have on the property. So many of them are similar, as you can see in your packet and up here on the slide. With the exception of a few additions. I think museums and galleries, for example, wasn't in the previous one. Craft distilleries is also new. All the rest of these uses were also part of the previous PUD. But now we can kind of really get into the details of this, and I'm going to turn it over to Christian to kind of talk about this slide a little bit.
It's because I made it and she doesn't read it. So what I've kind of created is a comparison table between the original C2 zoning, just to give you an idea of what's allowed in C2, the 2016 PUD, and then what they're proposing in the new PUD. Some of what's being proposed in the new PUD is driven by the land use amendment as far as the density goes. So some of those caps are coming from the previous two items. But in essence, under the general C2 zoning, as as far as commercial development, you can have 85% lot coverage up to 3 stories, and that equates to about 170,000 square feet of commercial that's possible. Our current comp plan allows for 20 units an acre in commercial adjacent to a major transportation corridor within 1 block. They could actually have up to 40 units an acre. So under C2, you can have roughly 435 multifamily units on this property. And then with the existing residential category that's in the marsh area, there are uplands that are allowed to be developed there technically. FEMA and the state allow for filling for the sake of single-family development, so it is a plausible concept that you could develop that for residential uses. And then obviously everything that's allowed in C2 would be allowed there, either as a permitted accessory or conditional use. And keep in mind, these numbers are very kind of loose projections, just to give you an idea. We won't go unit by unit exactly, but the previous PUD was proposing 94,000 square feet of commercial space, and that was broken up into a number of different uses. Specifically, they were looking to do townhomes as a residential use and a hotel that could also be converted to multifamily. But it didn't specifically limit them to those intensities. So the overall density of the project was limited to 20 units an acre, which gave them roughly 300 multifamily units. And then again, that 70 units of single family was never taken out, so that was still an option. They were approved for basically all of the C2 permitted and accessory uses. There were additional uses that were added to that PUD, which included refrigeration, warehouse, mini storage, those types of things. And then they had specifically pulled out conditional uses for bars, lounges, nightclubs, bars, microbreweries, those sorts of things. The current proposal, and again, very general numbers, but is roughly 67,000 square feet of total commercial, so less than what was originally proposed in the last PUD. At 15 units an acre, with the added new land that's being brought in from the roadway moving north, we can move about 300 units of multifamily, and that may be a little bit less, a little bit more. And then single family is going away, so there'll be 0 single family as an option. As far as the uses go, predominantly it's the permitted uses that are in C2 and RM2, which is the multifamily category, but they're proposing to remove a bunch of those uses that really don't apply to what they're proposing to do. So things like, dance studios and bowling alleys and those things are coming out because, and they're listed in the uses that they're requesting are in that written description for the PUD. There are some accessory uses that they're adding as well, related to residential accessory uses associated with the multifamily aspect of the project, and then some, again, boat-specific things that are kind of tweaks on what is allowed there currently, but in a lot of cases remove the automotive component and specify boat specifically. Overall, the project is less intense than what's currently allowed in the existing PUD, and certainly less intense than what would be allowed in the traditional C2 zoning. As far as the multifamily, again, that's really driven by that gross density of 15 units an acre over the whole project versus what is currently allowed in the C2 land use.
Thank you, Christian. Could not have explained that any better. Just a graphic of what they are requesting to change. Again, we've kind of covered this already. This is currently RS1 zoning. This is currently PUD zoning. With the proposed change, it would all be planned unit development. So it would include the area of the existing 2nd Avenue North right-of-way when it moves, when they do the land transfer, and then again, this additional uplands at the end of the new roadway. So again, an increase in PUD property and a decrease in residential property. So I know that the applicant will cover this in more detail, and there's copies in your packet. There was a new, this second sheet of the site plan, there was a new one at your desk. Really the only change was just some internal parking circulation and parking spaces. But we'll go into the, I'll let the applicant go into details of what they're planning to do. Again, there were townhouses proposed for both the north and south parts of the eastern portion of the basin. The new owner doesn't want to do the townhouses or the hotel, so is desiring to do multifamily instead. And then again, are proposing a new commercial building at the end of what will be the new 2nd Avenue North, along with parking for that commercial building, but also ample parking for overflow boat storage. As you saw from the photographs, there's boats and vehicles parked along the existing 2nd Avenue North. This will hopefully mitigate that by providing a large amount of additional boat parking that is above what's there currently. We have 2 staff conditions. They're not in your staff report, so we're providing them to you here. 2 proposed conditions that we would like you to consider as you discuss this PUD. The first one is that there is an existing restaurant there that does have dedicated parking to them through the city of Jacksonville Beach, and we do have a lease agreement with them. So we would like to ensure that their parking is exclusive to them, and that can be done through signage. To ensure that all their parking spaces are available for their patrons and employees. So we'd like you to consider a condition to the PUD that would make the parking spaces for the restaurant establishment exclusive to them through signage. And then the second one would be to consider requiring that all the development north of the realigned and reconstructed 2nd Avenue North is completed in one phase. So that's to ensure that when the commercial development gets built, we would automatically require that the parking associated with that get built, but also we want to ensure that additional overflow boat trailer storage parking, temporary parking, is completed as well. Okay, so that is the end of our presentation. We'll answer questions during that part of the meeting, and so Jody, if you can flip back over to the applicants, thank you very much.
If I could just suggest we may want to come back to those proposed conditions after the applicant has presented to us, just so you know, these are the conditions.
Yeah, TR 1301 Road Place Boulevard, again, representing Wynwood. So I want to go forward to the zoning. Let me say first, in terms of the conditions recommended by staff, Heather mentioned those to me this morning, so we don't have any objection to the 2 conditions that staff just proposed at the end of the thing. No objection to that, and you'll see why it fits into everything, really. So the proposed PUD, when we're proposed to rezone about 33 acres to the to amend the PUD to permit the development of the redevelopment of the existing marina and the related lands. That's about $45 million investment, by the way, by Windward over the coming years. So it is broken into 2 parcels. I'm just going to fast forward here. 2 parcels. Parcel A is the main marina campus, existing marina and basin, and parcel B is the parcel out at the end of 2nd Avenue North. So, there we go, okay. So when we're, again, parcel A, that's the main marina basin, can include multifamily, commercial, retail, restaurant, boat storage and repair, marina uses, and parking. Essentially what is there today, with the exception of the multifamily, and Christian had presented his slide, what the written description states is a maximum of 350 units of low-rise. Obviously, we're limited to 35 feet. Low-rise multifamily, both north and south of the marina basin. That calculates out, once you consider the main campus again of the marina, to about 12 units per acre, though the maximum is 15 units per acre in the new plan category. And at least on parcel A, 46,000 enclosed square feet. Parcel B, again, out at the end of 2nd Avenue North, about 4 acres along the intercoastal. It will include uses supportive of the existing boat ramp and marina. We call them marine support retail uses, really. including recreation, restaurant, commercial, and ancillary marina uses. That's like a bait shop and such, I think was mentioned as one of the potential uses. And parking, we'll get to the specific parking layout. Maximum of 21,000 enclosed square feet. So again, as I said before, parcel B, parcel A, we'll go through some maps. These are just good maps that show, in this instance, where the existing road is and the topo, like where the outline of the spoiled area is located in relation to the PUD boundaries. And then this is an aerial that also illustrates it as well. We've already talked about these in the comp plan in the context of the comp plan category, but this is the zoning. Right now, this is zoned that residential RS1. That's what most of the lands in that conservation category are zoned for whatever reason. And this denotes a little bit of commercial, but all of this, all of the property in the PUD is over here, and it will now all be zoned PUD. Again, we don't have to do the stormwater ponds. We don't have to rezone those PUD. They are permitted uses in any zoning district, so they'll go there. But that's a picture of what the rezoning looks like. This is the existing PUD site plan today from the 2016 zoning, just to show everybody. So there was a hotel that was going to go there. There were townhomes that were going to go there. Restaurant uses down here. This is the office building that's there today. And the restaurant uses are there today too, or at least one of them is. And then the orange is boat storage, so you'll know that the dry storage is here, and those uses are over on that side of the building. But that's today's site plan under the 2016 PUD. So this is the parcel A of the site plan, the PUD site plan. So this is the multifamily uses here. That also is multifamily uses, and the rest of the property is pretty much as it is today. Boat storage generally, there'll be some additional parking and boat storage up there, but that's the use of the main campus. Kind of those leftover areas will be put into the multifamily. One thing about the restaurant uses, just to make sure everybody understands this, there will still be a restaurant use down here as well, over in this area there. And that won't be till phase 2. So the current restaurant use that's there has a lease, and we're not looking to do anything to that lease, but it will ultimately be relocated there. The next site plan is the parcel B part of the site plan, so let's spend some time on that. First of all, though it's not in our PUD, the plan is to upgrade and stripe some of the existing parking for the boat ramp in here. We've had at least 2 face-to-face meetings and many other emails and other kinds of meetings with City of Jacksonville, which runs the boat ramp, and City of Jacksonville Beach, which of course has its interest in the restaurant that's there. We've had many uses with both, including face-to-face meetings with both, and one last week actually. And so the consensus is to put trailer boat storage, cars and trailers parking in here. The dedicated parking for the existing restaurant is here. Is right in here, and it ultimately, by the math, turns out to be exactly one more space than they have today. Today they have some parking here, and they have some parking that's kind of shuffled in with the marina parking. But the new parking will be actually one more space than they have today. It'll still be that there, and it'll be these 2 areas here. There's some parallel spaces there. And this is totally dedicated toward the existing restaurant. And yes, we agree to signage that limits it to that existing restaurant. That was our plan all along, so the condition that Heather's proposing is no problem for us. North of that, again, this is our marine mixed use, rather marina support and retail restaurant use in there. That requires parking, so the parking for those uses are in here. As you can see, those are normal car spaces. And then additional boat ramp parking is all going to be provided in here, where you see these big kind of angled spaces here. So that's a lot of new additional boat ramp spaces that are up in there. The totals are up here, and they're very tiny, but you might be able to see them on the plan that you have. By the way, I forgot to pass out. I have copies here of the slideshow that I can pass out to everyone. But the total numbers are up in here. We've been through those with both cities, and we're fulfilling the goal of adding to spaces for both the existing uses, the restaurant, and the boat ramp uses. This is just a map that's required, which shows the areas that are green space, but also it shows the access points along 2nd Avenue, which shows here and here and here for our multifamily. And you can see that there are a number of different accesses going in and out of the boat ramp. These in here, and these we've worked with both cities on, really are going to improve access to the boat ramp by boaters with trailers, as well as access to the existing restaurant, so as not to have too much. There are multiple choices for people taking their boat in and coming out with their boat, as opposed to now. I do want to just spend a second on the homes along 19th and some of the distances that are involved here. And I'm going to have the note in front of me while I point to the map. So the distance from the homes on 19th out to the new marine support uses out here is about a half a mile from here to there. In terms of the homes along 19th and the first multifamily use that will be going in basically here, the closest that is 700 feet there. So there's a good distance between both of those. All of the vegetation here will stay in place because it's in the conservation, and this land will be in the conservation. So if you drive north on 19th now and you look out to the west, you'll see the trees is what you see on the west side of 19th. It's pretty tall trees, and you can see through obviously to some marsh vegetation, but mostly along there what you see are trees. That's what you'll continue to see because that's all in conservation, and those areas of trees will stay in place here because it's going to be a preservation park. But also this around the spoil area is about a 15-foot berm. So you also, obviously that has some height and some vegetation to it. So this probably will not be visible from there. And same here again, all that tree cover stays in place over there. So I think I covered that. We were asked to provide a general time frame. So the roadway improvements will probably take place in 24 and 25. Over that time, we have to do a lot of permitting between now and then, finish out the permitting and the final design. So that's why that's the time frame there. Phase 1A, which again is down, I think, let's see, I'll make sure. Here we go, the phasing map is after this. So phase 1A is in here, that, and down here, that's the residential uses that are proposed there. That will be 2025 to 26. 1B, which is out here, will be 26 to 27. Obviously, it has to follow the construction of the road. And phase 2, which is the relocation of the restaurant down here and other stuff down here, that will also come later in 26 to 27. So when the planning staff said, hey, are you okay with doing all of these uses in a single phase, we said yes. Just to know, our understanding is the specific concern is they didn't want us to build parking for our commercial use and then leave the extra boat ramp parking, sometime in future years, and all this should go in the same phase. So it will all go in the same phase. We were fine to agree to that condition. That's the phasing, the results of everything. 100-acre preservation park. By the way, that goes to 110 when you add the land that's just west of 19th Street. So it's 110-acre preservation park. Is created with public access that's improved via the new 2nd Avenue North. Net increase of 5 acres of conservation estuarine land. 2nd Avenue North is improved. Access and parking for the boat ramp, existing restaurant, and existing park are improved. We provide additional parking for the new use out there. And there's also some parking for the proposed preservation park. And there'll be redevelopment of the of Beach Marine and proposed marine support uses out there at the boat ramp. So, which all generate some new ad valorem taxes and sales taxes for the city of Jacksonville Beach. That's the results of everything. We're happy to answer any questions. Thanks so much for all that time.
Sir, do you have any boards or members of the public to address this?
No.
Open public hearing, last chance. Close the public hearing. Do you have questions for the applicant or just have our discussion?
I do, I have a few questions. Can you go back to the PUD 1 diagram? So,
Yes.
I have some questions on that.
You wanted this, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is the they look like boxcars, the boxcar boxes on the bottom, 1, 2, and 3, are they the multifamily?
Yes.
And then on top of those, on the other side of it as well?
Yes, so this shows the buildings here, and I think I'm right, that's surface parking. This is parking on the first level.
Okay.
So the residential will be over the parking down here. Up here, it's surface parking, and these are the buildings.
Okay, so how many multifamily dwellings, are you making townhomes, are you making apartments?
It's apartments, and it's, I meant to clarify this question, so I'm glad you asked it. So if you look at the math on the site plan, it's 320 units total. The PUD written description, which was written before the site plan was finished, says a maximum of 350 units. I did notice that one of the slides that Christian showed had a number 303 on there. Honestly, it might have been, I think he might have calculated it, he thought from the density or something. But I do want to point out that our written description says a maximum of 350, and the site plan, if you do the math up here, it's 320 for the number of units total. Again, that is at about 12, well, it's less than 15 units to the acre, which is the new density provided in the new comp plan category. Today on the site, as I think Heather or Christian mentioned, today the comp plan allows 40 units to the acre within a certain distance of Beach Boulevard and 20 units to the acre behind that. So
on your 320 acres, are you 320 units? Are they 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom, I mean, what do you guys have there?
We don't have any idea of the numbers of
How big
bedrooms
are
and baths yet.
Each one of them, how big are they?
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you. I think they turned off your
Sorry.
microphone.
I keep forgetting to turn that on, I'm sorry. How big are they? Do you have a square foot?
I don't think we have that information at this time. I'll also say, I don't know that they're going to look like these square buildings here. This is really a conceptual of how they're going to be laid out.
Is it 1-story, 2-story, 3-story?
I would think it would be, it's 35 feet is the max. If somebody, three would be the top.
So I'm looking at cars now. So if you have 350 units, would you have 2 cars per unit? Would that be including the parking places as well?
So we are meeting the parking requirement under your code. And since we don't know the number of bedrooms, I don't know if I can say specifically size of the apartments or number of spaces. I know we're meeting your code. You asked about cars. So I'm not a traffic engineer, but I know that traffic engineers calculate differently for multifamily, and it's a lower number than single-family cars being generated. But I can't tell you exactly how many cars will be generated by this. I can tell you that we will be paying mobility fees, because the city of Jacksonville Beach has a mobility fee. So it's like an impact fee. So we'll be paying mobility fees for the number of units that are required under your code. I don't know, that may not answer your question, but.
No, I'm confused. So you're asking us to approve a PUD or recommend a PUD based on information we still don't have?
We asked you to approve a PUD that is 320 units. That's what our site plan shows. We were not asked either as part of the PUD, and I don't think your code has us provide the number of bedrooms or square footage of apartments. We will meet code for parking, so that we will do, but I don't know that we have calculated out exactly the number of parking spaces, although that information may be on there, but it may be dictated if we end up being able to do fewer units, then it'd be fewer parking spaces, obviously. So, but still meeting code for
So
the
then
parking.
you would have not only what you have at the marina today, obviously it's going to change, but you would have not just the people that are coming to and from the marina every day, you'd also have an additional 320 units, which could have anywhere from 1 to 4 people in it. And have 2 cars in each unit. It could be 700 cars.
We will
Additionally,
have,
on 2nd Avenue North.
that is correct. I think if you look at Christian's slide that he showed earlier, when he showed both the C2 zoning and what was permitted under there, and the 2016 PUD, you'll see that both of those on the north side of the Marina Basin allowed for substantial residential uses. Actually, I think some of them were more than we are proposing here. So you're right, we are proposing things that will generate traffic, and it will put the traffic out onto 2nd Avenue, at least for these northern units, not for these southern units, but for the northern units, it will put them out onto 2nd Avenue North. And certainly the road we're designing would accommodate that.
What about the people that are living on 2nd Avenue North before you get to the turn? Are they going to be?
I think some. They might have some clarifying information. So.
Yeah, I can add some additional information on the concerns for parking, or for traffic. The traffic analysis was done and was included in the PUD. I believe it's included in the package. But for all the units on the south side, for the phase 1 and the phase 2, all of those have basically direct access to Beach Boulevard going west. Going east, there's already an existing traffic signal right there at, is that 19? 20th north and south. So we did all the analysis for the new 2nd Avenue. Right now, we're working and looking at some improvements along with 19th from that little section where you go from the new road right-of-way to the existing Second Avenue.
Okay, thank you.
To my knowledge, just along 19th, I believe it's all just commercial uses. I don't believe there's any residential.
Okay.
There is.
So my question would be, that traffic light you mentioned on Beach Boulevard, has any look gone into that? Because the turn-in lane to turn left, which you'd be coming across from town, turning left into the property here, coming on 19th, that turn lane's not super deep, so cars are gonna start backing up on Beach Boulevard. And then the same with coming out of 19th, if you got, you've 700% your cars coming out of there now, the light already gets backed up going east on Beach Boulevard.
Right.
And you'll be sitting there for 5 cycles of that light.
Yep, so in terms of queuing,
Jennifer, Matt, is that a county or
20th?
state road? No, Beach Boulevard.
Beach
Boulevard's a DOT road.
so Beach Boulevard's a DOT road, so once we do improvements on site, we will have to go through the DOT for a design and an evaluation of that intersection, looking at traffic counts, proposed traffic counts associated with the development. So when we go in and actually submit for this, the DOT, being an adjacent property owner to our property, will kind of kick that into review for them. At that point, we'll do a signalized intersection review, whereas we've just done the traffic analysis for Second Avenue and on-site for our property as well as parking. So once we get to that point with the intersection, we'll have to go through the DOT, and they're the ones that really control what that design will look like, and if there's, reason for additional queuing for the turn or whatever kind of cycle timing that they determine, will address those issues as well.
Right, because with the neighbors should be more concerned about not on 19th Street, it's on 2nd, north going that way, because everybody's gonna dip off on 2nd and go towards Penman. And they're gonna be driving in and out of neighborhoods with kids and everything else, they're trying to beat lights and head every way that way. Also, dead across the street on Beach Boulevard is also the Adventure Landing project going in, so that traffic's gonna be a nightmare, real quick. Has anybody thought about that?
Beach Boulevard's gonna be a nightmare. Between Adventure Landing and their 900 units and then your units, it would be a nightmare.
There's also additional units going on in Jacksonville, about a mile down the road on Beach. So
We've had some preliminary studies done with the DOT, and I believe the level of service on this road in terms of their requirements, and they're kind of the government agency, there was room for additional traffic on Beach Boulevard to accommodate this project.
Through the chair, I just want to hit a couple points real quick. Total density development was an error on my calculation. The land use parcel does not include the basin. The zoning parcel does. The way our codes are written, we include the water in the density calculation for the PUD. So there are more units in that calculation than I had because I used the wrong parcel. So what I calculated on was basically just the land, but the density for units per acre that they're proposing would be including the marina space as part of their parcel. So that's why my numbers were too low. As far as traffic goes, and I've touched on this with a couple of you already, but Jacksonville Beach is a concurrency transportation exception area, which means we don't calculate level of service or road capacity because we don't have the ability to expand our roads to handle any increase in traffic, and we don't control the roads that handle most of our traffic. So we have a mobility fee that addresses alternate forms of transportation. So if DOT says we have capacity on our road for Beach Boulevard, then our assumption is that they do because we don't regulate that. If someone says we need to add capacity on one of our neighborhood streets, in most cases we can't. So the state allowed us to exempt ourselves out of transportation concurrency, and we did that in roughly 2011. So although there may be concerns about that, they're not required under our comp plan to address level of service on our streets. So they're abiding by the DOT requirements for dealing with Beach Boulevard. They're handling 2nd Avenue with Jacksonville on the portion that they're developing, and then beyond that on our streets, they don't have a requirement to add any capacity or anything like that.
And to touch on traffic a little bit more, really the developmental idea of Beach Marine is kind of similar to what we're doing in St. Augustine, and it's really a marina mixed-use development where we encourage people to be able to work, play, and sleep all in the same environment, and really cut down on a lot of some of the unnecessary vehicular traffic that you would see. People may be running out to the gas station, running out to a restaurant where we'll have, some nice restaurants and some commercial space where hopefully people can jump on their bike or they can walk or use the multi-use path to get where they're trying to go. So those are some other considerations that are kind of the backbone of that Marina Village thought process really of development and trying to include everything really uniquely onto our property.
I do want to mention again that we will pay a mobility fee. Christian's right, we don't have to meet concurrency as it was imagined 10 years ago, concurrency, but we do have to pay a mobility fee. And we don't get credit for the improvements to Second Avenue because that's a Jacksonville road. So actually, initially I thought we would get credit for our improvements to Second Avenue, but we don't, meaning we will both do the Second Avenue improvements, including $1 million from Windward for the design and permitting, and on top of that, we will be paying a mobility fee in City of Jacksonville Beach. So those are our traffic contributions, the improvements to Second Avenue North and the code required mobility fee payments.
Are those your brownie points?
I'm sorry?
So are those your brownie points?
Well, from their perspective, it wasn't so much brownie points, but it's money that they will pay towards transportation impacts, is my point, I guess. Thank you.
I have a couple of questions.
Kevin?
You mentioned earlier a hotel, is that no longer in the plan?
No, that was under the old PUD, not the new one.
Okay, and then you mentioned also something about relocation of a restaurant. What did you mean by that? You said relocating a restaurant.
That's down here. So if you look at today, I'm trying to go to maybe an aerial. Well, actually, this is the old PUD. This is the existing PUD. You'll see there's a restaurant. I think it's right. That's the office use. The restaurant's right here. So their lease runs a few more years. So
That's a lobby?
Yes, ma'am. So we're not looking to put that out of business at all. So they will stay there until their lease runs, but then in our last phase, we would be asking that restaurant to move over to here, over to this location over here. So they'd be moving from here to here.
Okay. And then the other question is for the residential on the north side there, because the road was flooding, do you feel like the improvements in the stormwater ponds or whatever is going to prevent that from flooding? And is there some kind of, I don't know, restriction about having that residential so close to a conservation area?
We do have comp plan policies that deal with setbacks from conservation areas. The road is basically going to be the interceding thing from the conservation at this point. Typically there's a 50-foot setback, but the road's going to be substantially more than that, so they're not going to be encroaching into any conservation once the road is done. They're in a flood zone, so any new construction, one, they'll have to mitigate their own stormwater, which they're designing, and two, the buildings will have to be able to meet the flood zone requirements for both the city, the state, and FEMA. So that area should be properly designed in a way that it doesn't flood and the buildings don't flood to meet all those requirements through the permitting process. So the stormwater should be designed to meet the requirements that are prevented from flooding, and the new buildings will be designed to prevent flooding as well.
Hey. How are y'all? I have a bunch of questions. Sorry. All right, so let's look at Exhibit F1 if we can, real quick, which is the legend that shows the recreational open space, the marina mixed use, and the conservation. I don't know if it's, yeah, perfect, that'll work. So on the document,
Okay, this is for the plan amendment, so I'm going to go back to that one. If it's Exhibit F1.
Yep.
let's use that.
So why, I guess the parking lot, why is that, why are some of the areas marina mixed use and then other areas of the parking lot recreation open space?
Sure, okay. So the green, which is what we're proposing to put into recreation open space, is parking for the boat ramp, and the boat ramp is in green. The boat ramp is recreation open space. So working with staff, what we understood was parking for the boat ramp would be in the same land use category as the boat ramp, recreation open space. The red, marine mixed use, relates to the use we're putting there,
Sure.
and the parking that's needed.
I guess for the restaurant, it just appears like half of that parking lot is marina mixed use.
Yeah, yes,
That's just confusing to me because we said that the restaurant parking was going to be complete designated for the restaurant.
Through the chair, I think there's, the city owns a parcel that is a restaurant,
Yes.
which is south, next to the
Yep.
boat launch.
Yep, right here.
And then there is a proposal to potentially have a restaurant in the marina mixed use on the north side as well.
Yep, over here. But I'm talking about this parking lot right here. You see that parking lot, you see how it's red? And that's half of the parking lot of the rest of the, unless I'm reading that wrong.
So, I mean, what I can point to,
Yeah, I mean, technically, the restaurant is a commercial use, so it would make sense that.
And then you can also see that the first lane.
Oh, it's split because they own that portion and the rest of it belongs to the city.
So they're gonna just give that part to the restaurant, is what you're saying?
So I think we're getting a little, I think there's a little bit of confusion in terms of,
Yeah.
of the restaurant itself. Can we go back to the cover that they originally spoke about?
This?
Okay, yes, so you can see the green on the easterly side of the spoil site, that is dedicated to the boat ramp. So that's in the open rec zoning category. For the red, basically, for the red north of this dash line, that parking is associated with the marina mixed use building. Everything to the south of that dash line is dedicated to the existing restaurant that's there. So this,
To the south of that.
of the dash line, so this, so the
I'm just
dash,
looking at a different chart, and this is what we're gonna be voting on. I'm looking at the exhibit F1 given to me by the city.
You're talking about this area right there, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Next manner to approach, okay.
This is Exhibit F. So this portion of the parking that's dedicated for the city's commercial space, the restaurant, part of that is in the marina mixed use and part of it is not. And that's his question, is why is only part of that red? Basically the north half of the dedicated parking area for the city's restaurant is in the red. And I think it's because this is the boundary of your property, correct?
No, I'll explain it. So the,
so the city's restaurant, the existing restaurant that rents from City of Jacksonville Beach, that is marine mixed use. That is a commercial use, marine mixed use. So, the little piece of it that is in the marine mixed use, which is right where that green dot is right now, that should be in the red, the marine mixed use, because the restaurant is marine mixed use. The green is the boat ramp parking.
I know where the boat ramp is. I just want to know why half of it is red.
It's not half, the whole thing ultimately will be red. See what it is here? This property down here is not owned by us. It's owned by City of Jacksonville Beach. So the City of Jacksonville Beach is changing that to marine mixed use, or needs to change that to marine mixed use. So the whole thing that parking lot for the existing restaurant right there, where I'm pointing with the green, that whole thing will be in the red, in the marine mixed use. It's not half and half of anything.
Through the chair, so there is a map in the application packet that shows that as being split in half. It's different than what you're showing here. I think that's the concern.
Okay, well, our intent, which is shown on this map, which was in.
No, I get your intent, I get it.
Okay.
It's just what we're going to be voting on, the papers that we're given are different.
Okay.
Do you mind if I go look at that again? So, I'm sorry to do this away from the microphone. So are you looking at that little piece right there that's not colored?
No, I'm looking at that little tiny red piece that is colored.
Yes, because it's colored red because the restaurant is going to be red. The restaurant is going to be part of the marina mixed use. So the restaurant, the southern part of that parking area where my finger's pointing will be red, and it will go into the red that is here. That red, just as it shows up here, is going to go down into there where the existing restaurant is. The existing restaurant should be red.
Got it. Does that make sense?
Did I answer that?
But can I just clarify, the existing restaurant is not part of the PUD? It's part of the land use?
We don't own it, so yes,
Right, so it won't be
correct.
included in the PUD?
Correct, we don't own that, we can't zone it. Okay.
For the staff, under the current what's the maximum number of units contemplated? If you go back to the one where you're talking about townhouses under the current plan, what kind of a density, I guess, are we looking at?
So the original PUD was proposing 40 townhomes and then the 64-bed hotel, which could be converted into 32 multifamily units. Basically, that's what they were proposing. The limits would have been set by the overall density of 20 units an acre. I'd have to redo the numbers because again, I used the wrong shaped polygon, but
Do you want to put your slide back on, Christian?
No,
I don't think it's helpful.
So the bottom line is this, it's just I'm making a comment here for discussion. I like the current land use because it's much lower density when it comes to the multifamily or the townhomes that are considered versus multifamily, right?
Okay, so the PUD proposed to do townhomes, but it didn't limit itself to townhomes.
So, but that's the current proposed PUD, correct?
That's the adopted PUD.
The adopted PUD.
Right, what I'm saying is that they, aside from potentially changing the site plan, they're not locked into just the townhomes.
Yeah, absolutely, totally understand it. What it boils down to for me, is for the other commissioners here, is that the new, under current zoning, or current use in C2, it could be up to 4 units per acre right there. I'm not thrilled with 320 units on Second Street. I will go on record saying I think it's a traffic problem, big one, coming and Beach for the Adventure Landing Plan development, plus this, plus the developments going on a mile down the road. I actually have some generalized safety concerns about people leaving from the development that's going in here at Windward and people coming in with their boats. It's going to be opposing traffic. I get it. People come in early to launch their boats, people leaving early to go to work. But it just seems like we're creating a situation where the traffic is just going to be bad at best. That said, I just don't know what we can do to make it. I get the mobility. I would say that the concept of people living and working in the same space is good, but with 320 units, that's just not going to happen. There are not going to be 320 units worth of jobs in that space. And so that's my greatest concern right now with this. I think that overall the plan, is, especially when it comes to improving the boat ramp, moving the boat and everything, is very good. I'd really like to see a lower density of units there just because of the infrastructure strain is on specifically traffic, but it extends beyond that to, school, hospital, all that stuff. I get it, infrastructure tends to be a lagging thing, as you alluded to, you'd have to do the study after when it comes to Beach Boulevard, but anybody who drives down Beach Boulevard right now knows that this is gonna be a huge problem.
I'm going to add a comment to that. It's already a huge problem. I don't care what time you come over the bridge into Jacksonville Beach. If you want to go left on Penman, you have to sit at that light sometimes 3 times. And that's without Adventure Landing, or the one that's going to be a mile from where you guys are at, and you. So the density of traffic for people that live at the beach is going to be tremendous. It's going to just be, I would say, too much in my own personal opinion.
So the additional parking that is up there, is it, people can only park a certain amount of time there? Or is, I was just wondering if people that live there, are they just going to be parking their cars there?
Are you, so the people, let's go to the PUD.
So near, I'm sorry, near the boat ramp, not the actual boat ramp parking, but the additional parking that you've added? That's too far for people to who live in the, let me go to the PUD. So this is where people will live in the PUD. That's at the other end of 2nd Avenue, so 2nd Avenue North. So this parking, which is for the boat ramp, and is for that use there, people can't park there and then walk to their units over here. We don't anticipate that, and it's not. It's not.
Would it be set up for no overnight parking? Because you have a walkway, a 12-foot wide walkway that goes from one thing to the other, proposed for a green space that they can ride their bikes down to. Absolutely, they'll park down there.
Definitely.
So the terms of the use of this parking will be worked out with the City of Jacksonville. The boat ramp, the extra boat ramp parking, all those terms will be worked out with City of Jacksonville in terms of the boat ramp and its use and the operating agreement, as it were, for this parking will be with City of Jacksonville. I mean, I don't know to what extent it will say that parking for the residents can or can't use that there. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I mean, really, the multifamily buildings themselves, all the parking associated with that is intended to be on the PUD, on the parent property, so to speak, around the marina. The dedicated parking out at the point, so to speak, here on the northwest, that's going to be strictly related to that out parcel building. We have no problem with putting signage out there. I just really don't see the benefit of, I think the code is like 1.8 spaces per unit.
It's 2.
So it's 2 per unit. Its majority is probably going to be 1, 2, maybe 3 bedrooms. So I just, again, we have code compliant parking, and then you have people what they're going to do in the real world. Maybe some people park out there. I just don't predominantly see that being used, but we have no issues with restricting that, because it could have negative impacts on that out parcel if people are parking where they can't utilize that building itself.
In the city's lease agreement for the restaurant, do they have, I know they have valet parking, but do you also say, hey, you also get this amount of parking?
Can I just kind of share an idea that Heather did allude to the fact that the City of Jacksonville Beach is looking at its comprehensive plan and its land development regs right now. And of course, this has come up before where we know that traffic's going to be an issue, but we don't have any tools to, when we look at capacity on the roads that are not roads we control, they show that there's capacity. I waited in line on Hendon Road too. It doesn't look like capacity to me, but we don't have something that we can kind of turn to say this is our standard in the City of Jacksonville Beach. Now, because we need to kind of consistently apply it and make it clear to everybody that that's what we're looking for. So, I mean, I hate to say, you know, I'm a planner. When the comprehensive plan is lacking, it's a problem, and we're fixing it, but, you know, timing is something I would just kind of caution us as we work on the updates to the plans. We should keep in mind these kind of bigger issues, make sure that we address. And having said that, though, I don't know what we base it on. If we were to be more limiting, how would we, you know, what would that be based on? We have to find, you know, something in the existing land development regs to turn to more of a comprehensive plan. And
So-
I guess I'll shut up.
So, just a comment on that, and this is actually a question probably for the planning staff here. My understanding of what we're doing right here is for the PUDs. We can't actually execute the improvements to the boat ramp and everything without this, because right now it's zoned residential, is that correct? That's what I'm looking at on the legend. And then there's a small sliver of residential north of what is currently in the PUD, right? So if we did nothing, there's still going to be a lot of multifamily residential that's put up. If we deny this, that's all going to get put up. However, they won't be able to do the improvements to the boat ramp. Is that correct, or am I reading that wrong?
No, so there is a currently approved PUD that is active, so they could certainly go with that and build the hotel and the townhouses. The only difference is this addition here, in this 8,000 square foot footprint of a building with associated parking. So that's the addition that to the PUD that's different from the one that's approved now.
What was the size of the hotel?
It was I think it was 64 rooms. With
So it's
parking.
64 rooms for a hotel and 40 units for the multifamily?
In the currently approved
Right.
PUD, yes ma'am.
Okay, so it's 60 people a night versus 80 or 60 and 80, I don't add. Versus 280.
It's worth pointing out that there was also an additional 30,000 square feet of commercial in that PUD. So it was kind of balancing the scales between commercial and residential. So they've tipped it more to the residential side, that tipped it to the commercial side.
So if I could just make this point about the traffic. We definitely do have existing rights under the existing PUD, hotel, commercial, other uses. And that could go forward today. Under our existing comp plan categories, we actually have far more density. We have up to 20 units to the acre north of the basin and 40 units to the acre south of the basin, because your code allows double that, so 40 units to the acre down within a certain distance from Beach Boulevard. So under the comp plan categories, we have a lot more density. We're now taking that 20 units to the acre and 40 units to the acre and reducing it to 15 units to the acre over the whole PUD. So under the comp plan, we are definitely reducing the density. If you look at the plan that's on the property today, it would allow the hotel, the other commercial uses that Christian just mentioned. What we're proposing is a more residential use there on the north side of the basin, not the hotel, not the more commercial, but rather the residential units. Part of that 350 is going to be down on the south part, south of the basin. So part of that 320, units is south of the basin. But setting all that aside, your code provides what to do in terms of traffic, and that is pay a mobility fee. And it's not a small amount, it's a big amount. We will have to pay that mobility fee. That mobility fee is the code's way of making us address traffic impacts. There's no other way to do it. You pay the mobility fee, and that's what we're going to do. But on top of that, this development, and particularly the 320 units, allows us to move forward, working with City of Jacksonville to provide an $11 million road improvement and our $1 million in permit and design. So I definitely understand the traffic concerns, definitely. What I'm telling you is two things. Number one, we can do a lot under the current PUD. So that's one thing. Number two, I don't think that it can be fairly said that Windward is not doing what your code says, which is pay the mobility fee. But in addition to that, it is paying the design and permitting cost $1 million, joining with City of Jacksonville $11 million to improve 2nd Avenue North, which is a traffic improvement and an important traffic improvement to City of Jacksonville Beach. So that's our perspective of the traffic impacts. But I appreciate your concerns and what you're saying. I just wanted to try and articulate our perspective. Thank you for listening.
I'll tell you what the Jacksonville Beaches community would say. That's the cost of doing business. I know you're paying your traffic fees, but when you have somebody 10 years from now that's sitting up Beach Boulevard going, how did our little tiny city of Jacksonville Beach of 23,000 people in 4.4 square miles, whatever, it's either 2 square miles or 4 miles, get to this? No one's going to care about your having to pay the cost of traffic and things like that. They're all going to be disgusted. And that's what we're just trying to work something out between this instead of having that scenario happen. Thank you.
Can I just ask staff what their assessment is of how you would address the 2nd Avenue issues, the flooding, the boat ramp congestion, that 90-degree turn? What are the city's options for fixing that absent private sector participants such as this?
It would be on the City of Jacksonville. It's not our road or roadway.
So swimming them is...
I mean, the city has no plans in doing anything at the moment because it's not our road. The City of Jacksonville has developed a process that we're supportive of through the development agreement, but independently, we don't have any plans to do anything with that road or fund anything through it because it's currently under works with the developer and with the City of Jacksonville. But it would be, the onus would be on the City of Jacksonville to work with us to develop something, but if they're
The impacts are all on us.
But they're paying for the road, so.
So just to kind of bring this down to exactly the issue that we're looking at, under the current PUD, what is the maximum number of units that could be put up?
One moment.
While we're doing that, can I just ask, is deferral a possibility for the planning and development item?
For what purpose? And what would you be deferring it to? Gather more information or?
I've just been asked by a fellow commissioner, so.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that there would need to be a reason to defer it, not, you need more data or information or something along those lines. I know we talk a lot about traffic. This came up with the development across the street. a traffic analysis is not required at this point. We have no control over Beach Boulevard, Penman Road, A1A, our big arterial collector roads. There's not right of way to widen them, and they're not under our control, which is why we entered into the Transportation Concurrency Exception Area program with the state, so that we could look at multi-mobility. So that mobility fee that they pay, and it could be hundreds of thousands of dollars, will go back to the city to fund urban trails, sidewalks, bike lane improvements, those types of things. So that money does get put back into the transportation system, just not our roadways. And it's common for built-out cities to have mobility fee as opposed to doing concurrency. It's very common.
Through the chair to Mr. Andrews' question, give or take about 500 units.
So if we say no to this, 500 units could go up. And
In theory, yes. By the land use densities, yeah, that's possible.
however, there would be no ability to improve the boat ramp area, correct?
I mean, not without some other change to the existing land use.
It is.
Can I ask that we put up the staff recommended conditions and perhaps consider motion?
The applicants already agreed to the staff recommended ideas, is that correct? Okay.
Yes, sir.
No, we would have to make our motion conditional on including them.
The applicant has already agreed to include them.
From staff's perspective, we would prefer that if you agreed to move these forward, to, in your motion, include these, that we will carry them forward from the planning commission to council. Or any other conditions that you guys discuss.
Okay, so if anyone would like to make a motion, please include or not after discussion. Staff.
So I'll reiterate, I think this is a traffic problem coming, period. I do not believe there's anything as the planning commission that we can do about that. If we do nothing, it's actually a worse problem, or potentially a worse problem than if we approve this PUD. So I don't like it, but I'm gonna make a motion to approve with the staff proposed conditions through PUD zoning.
Second.
May we have a roll call? Colleen White,
No.
Justin Learman,
Yes.
Nicholas Andrew,
Yes.
Justin Henderson,
No.
Margot Maury.
Yes. Can you guys help us by telling us where that puts us?
So you've made a motion to approve with staff conditions. That was a 3-2 vote. So your recommendations would be sent on to City Council with the 2 staff conditions as a recommendation for approval.
And just to kind of let everyone know here, and whoever is maybe listening on YouTube, we have this scheduled for City Council for December 4th. And then depending what happens with the staff's proposed application to the state for the new land use, everything will come back to City Council probably sometime in end of January, beginning of February. So that second hearing date is kind of TBD, so we'll try to keep you guys posted on that. Does anyone have any questions about the process moving forward? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Then we have the planning department report.
We do not have a meeting second half of this month, and I hope everybody has a pleasant Thanksgiving, and we'll be back for the first meeting in December.
Can I add, we have tentatively scheduled a workshop on December 6th with all the board members, so PC, BOA, and CRA, to talk about the comprehensive plan. It may move a week out just because we still have to review it internally, but right now it's December 6th. Once we actually like hammer down that date, we'll send everybody an invitation. We just wanted to give you guys a heads up on that. It'll be sometime in December.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.